gummy bear.
It's the internet, you're busy, let's do this for August 8th, 2024 for the next hour or so. Let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, Facebook has shut down an excellent studio, and the Borderlands movie is apparently a train wreck. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host of Game Mess Mornings. It's Jason Fanelli, everybody. Jason, how are you doing?
I am fantastic on a Thursday morning. Had a little bit of a tech snafu there. Not sure what that was, but we're here. We're having fun. We're talking about game news, which hasn't been fun in the last week or so. Still,
no, since like 2023, yeah.
Yeah, well, fair, but specifically since Friday.
Oh yeah, been rough.
It's rough to see, but hopefully we'll bring some levity to it, make some people laugh as we talk about the news, and just try and bring a little ray of sunshine into this cloudy day. Which literally, in my case, I don't know about you in Cleveland, but we're waiting for this tropical storm to show
overcast up. Here, really hot, but overcast. It's been that way for the last couple of days, but we're making do over here. And like you said, we're going to make do with the game news that we are given and talk about it on the show. But yeah, I'm recovering now fully from hanging out for SummerSlam. It was a good time. Did you get a chance to watch that? It was a pretty good show, I thought.
Yeah. I thought I was going to talk about this at the end, but I did a local wrestling podcast that goes up later today called Straight Shooters.
Oh, cool.
Their SummerSlam 2024 recap. And we all agreed that it was top to bottom, like a very solidly booked, well done show. Like one of the questions in our format was, what was the worst match of the night? And I picked mine based on match duration, not because of what happened in it, but because it was too short. That to me is a sign of a good wrestling show. I was thoroughly sports entertained.
That's what you want. You want to be sports entertained when you're watching your sports entertainment.
That is correct.
All right. Just to let you know, the overlays seem broken. I think I'm using the right one. I'll get that up here in a little bit. Lots of technical issues here today, Jason Fanelli. I don't care anymore. Whatever. I beat Daikatana. I'm free. I am over here footloose and even fancy free is how I would describe myself after beating that game. Exactly. Man, I'm surviving and thriving.
You're out of the Romero gulag, huh?
Uh-huh. Yeah. You get done and a little bit of the Stockholm syndrome sinks in. We're like, man, I'll go back and see, like, what if I turned off this or what if I messed around with these settings? Right. And also I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I just like John Romero a lot. That game is real bad. It really is. But there's just still something about that time, that era, those people making those kinds of games and kind of things just getting out of hand. I'm glad that I've played Daikatana. And I'm also happy that the game's bullshit just did not cease even up to the very last moment. I guess I'll try not to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it too much. But when I went from the second to last boss fight, had a really long cutscene, and then something immediately happened at the beginning, and immediately, I mean, the second the final boss fight started, and I had to do it all over again. That was real special. So you'll want to see that for yourself and how that breaks.
Go check out the on demand. Yeah. Woo, baby.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. We should explain what we do here. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Meta is shutting down Ready at Dawn. This is from Jordan Midler at VGC. Meta, which you probably better know as Facebook, has confirmed that it's closing first-party development studio Ready at Dawn. The California US-based studio, which was founded in 2003 and acquired by Meta in 2010, previously suffered layoffs last year. Speaking to Android Central, a Meta spokesperson told the publication that the cuts were made to ensure that the Reality Labs project stays within budget and that Oculus Studios can make a better long-term impact in VR development. While it had already shifted its focus to VR development several years before being acquired by Meta, Ready at Dawn cut its teeth developing for PlayStation platforms. Its credits include, let's see here, Daxter, God of War, Chains of Olympus, and God of War: Ghost of Sparta. A lot of the handheld conversions or handheld takes on popular PlayStation franchises, and some of the like better one of those. There was a lot of that kind of stuff, and people tended to like Ready at Dawn's games quite a bit. Since then, it has developed well-received VR games, including Lone Echo and Lone Echo 2. I enjoyed what I've played of Lone Echo. Very cool game where you sort of, I think you're in zero G and you move yourself around a spaceship and stuff like that. And then they had a Lone Echo multiplayer game, which was also pretty cool. Meta said that Ready at Dawn employees were being encouraged to apply elsewhere within Oculus Studios, and that it wants to hold on to as many developers as possible. But they always say that. They do always say that. This is a real shame because Ready at Dawn is a studio that I've always liked. I've really liked all their stuff. Even their VR stuff was something that like I would actually pay attention to. I like The Order 1886, right? Was that them? Yes. I really like that game more than most people. So this really stinks. I wish this studio was able to keep going. But that's just where we're at, where these studios that kind of get swallowed up for one reason, and then these companies have a strategic failure or change of heart. It very quickly can end up in a situation like this, right?
Yeah, my first thought was maybe the problem wasn't Ready at Dawn. Maybe the problem was the Reality Labs project they're trying to keep profitable. Maybe something's wrong there and you should work there instead. But I digress. Yes, another name from the early to mid 2000s set by the wayside, not for any fault of their own. The games obviously were quality. Admittedly, I am a late adopter or late bloomer, whatever you want to call it, as far as VR is concerned. I don't own a Meta Quest yet. I had a PSVR. I don't have a PSVR2, so I'm sort of behind the curve in that regard. But you are not the only person to say that Lone Echo was good. I had heard that a lot, even before Ready at Dawn had shuttered. And I, too, enjoyed The Order 1886. A lot of people wrote that off as just a all-style, no-substance, very pretty game, but not a whole lot going on. But it's one of those games where you just sit down, you forget where you are for a couple hours, and you play, and you watch a story, and you're entertained. I'm not looking for a 10 out of 10 AAA experience in every game I play, and that was one that I thoroughly enjoyed. It's like a AA made by a AAA developer, if that makes sense. It's it didn't set the world on fire, but I still think it fondly. And it's another group of people who are being cast out for no fault of their own, who now have to find a job, ever dwindling number of jobs in this industry. We're going to lose more good people. Again, they're going to go elsewhere. And the only people we have to thank for that are corporate assholes.
Yep.
I mean, there's no way to put it, really. Yeah,
absolutely.
All they want is line go. I'm getting so tired of it.
Yep.
Jeff, and I'm trying. I don't know if we try to keep this PG or not, but
no, go to town.
It's getting fucking tiring. It really is. These are
exhausting.
Good people. All they wanted to do was make video games. That's all they probably what they wanted to do as kids. And they finally get there. They finally get the studio they want. They're making the creative games that they want. And people that they never even probably spoke to, let alone met and actually worked with, are treating them as numbers on a grid, on a sheet. And it's disgusting. I hate it. It is so tough to be a fan. A journalist in gaming is one thing. It's so tough to be a fan right now, because like I have my aunt, who's a former lawyer, we used to work for the government, follows the financials, but doesn't really follow like gaming specifically, asked me out of the blue, what the hell is going on in your industry? And when she sees something's up, someone who is so far detached from video games, like it's hard to describe, then there's a canary in the coal mine, right?
Yep.
And people are saying survive until 2025, but is it going to stop in 2025, or is that just what they're saying so that we don't, torch and pitchfork them now?
Yeah, it's scary because it's like, I think that's what people are saying, and I think the people that are sort of paying attention, what they mean by that is that the expectation is interest rates will go back down and then money will be cheap again, and then we could start this fucking clown factory back up all over once again and start making big bets that don't have any basis in strong foundations or reality. And then something goes wrong once again, and we're right back here in a couple of years. And honestly, this time, who knows how long? It could be 6 months. We could be back here after interest rates drop and things seem like they're back, because it seems volatile out there. And you know, it's Facebook too. It's like they make a lot of money, and you know, seems like Mark Zuckerberg spent $500 million just like rehabilitating his image to be like a guy who wears a gold chain now. Like, I bet he's paid a lot of money to have someone tell him to do that. And in the meantime, people who make great games and doing that work are out on their ass. And the weird and frustrating thing, and what's going to be a problem for this industry, is every single senior developer, and this is not a slight against the senior developers, but every single senior developer is going to be able to get a job instantly. They're still so in demand. And then everyone beneath that will have a very hard time finding work because this industry is in a place where, like, listen, if you've shipped games, if you've done this, if you've done that, we could really use you. But you know, we're not going to give you a lot of room to move up, but we need people to fill in these very senior roles. And then they're afraid to hire anyone else beyond that. And so there's going to be a lack of experience working on these big games at these big studios in the next couple of years that is probably going to hurt gaming in the long run. And it feels myopic, and of course it is. It always is. What's the goal? You know, short-term profits, short-term returns. And they seemed like they were trying to make a long-term bet with VR. But I think they know that's like that we probably missed there. We weren't thinking that long term. We're not talking about 20 years or something like that. They wanted to see some return, and they're just not. So here we are, and Ready at Dawn pays the price. All right, not much else to say there. Let's move ahead here. Warner Brothers is looking at licensing its IP to other game studios. This is from Jordan Miller at VGC. And this is a bit of a follow-up to the renewed rumors that Warner Brothers is maybe looking to sell off their game studios yet again. Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav, a brain genius, says he's looking into just a winner out there. Says he's looking into licensing the company's IP to non-Warner Brothers studios to produce games. Speaking as part of the company's financial results, Zaslav discussed why he thought 2023's Hogwarts Legacy was such a success and how that could be the template for future Warner titles. One of the reasons that Hogwarts Legacy was so successful and the number one game last year was that you went to Hogwarts Legacy and you entered the game and you were able to become part of that world, Zaslav said. And it's like, wow, you figured it out, buddy. That ultimately,
2 + 2 is 4, Zaslav.
Right, it's like, shit? yeah, people want the game they've been asking for 20 years. Sure. That ultimately, I think, is a big piece of where this industry is going. That will create a movie, whether it's Batman or Superman or Harry Potter, and maybe there will be a TV show. But the ability to go in the world and have that experience of spending time with all the characters is something that we still own. We have 11 studios here, and we have a lot of IP, and there's also a lot of interest among others in coming to take advantage of some of our IP for gaming, which we're looking at. So yeah, I guess I never really thought about it in these terms too much. That that Warner Brothers has mostly just kept their game development efforts in house and has worked with the studios that they own, and they haven't been seeking these partnerships at the same time. And clearly, you know, you can like we see Microsoft has a lot of IP and they have a ton of studios, and it takes them a long time to get games out. They get a couple games, 5 to 10 games out a year for the 30 studios they have. And that's Microsoft with even more money than Warner Brothers, so without all the financial problems that Warner Brothers has. And even then, Microsoft still sometimes partners with outside studios, pretty frequently actually. And it looks like they're expanding that. So, and Nintendo does this as well. Nintendo has internal IP that is massive, and they have a menagerie of studios external to them that they work with. A lot of them are so close and have been working with them so long that they feel like internal partners, but they're not. So the idea that Warner Brothers was not doing this already feels like a long overdue correction for a problem that they shouldn't have had, right?
Yeah, definitely a broken clock situation here for Zaslav, where it actually makes a lot of sense. And as somebody mentioned in the chat, seems to work for Disney, right?
Yep.
Now, what the company they licensed to did with the IP is another thing entirely, Battlefront 2. But they seem to have redeemed themselves because of Respawn, but that's another story.
Yep.
But yeah, I would like to see Batman in the hands of a different studio. I would like to see DC Comics in general. Nothing against, Rocksteady or nothing against the ones that they have, but Suicide Squad was not good, right? It was not a good game. So if they can figure out something where they can make these franchises, this war chest of franchises that they own, profitable in the game space, they just have to, it's licensing fees instead of keeping all the development in house. Hey, why the hell not?
Yeah, I mean, God, Vin Vraz in chat saying give Batman to Arcane. Yeah, I mean, like a Batman Beyond game from Arcane would be shit hot. That would be awesome, I think.
Yeah,
really cool.
Yes, endorse that 100%. I'm trying to think. I don't know if I have time to look up all the franchises that Warner Brothers has right now. I'm basically just trying to think of multiverses and who's in that at the moment. But Batman from Arcane. You want to give like Obsidian? They have Game of Thrones, right? Give me a Game of Thrones RPG.
They would have Game of Thrones, right? They don't have a Song of Ice and Fire, but yeah, they have Game of Thrones, which is the one that matters.
The TV portion of it. So you could find an RPG, make a Westeros MMO, and get a high profile MMO developer to do that. There is possibilities.
Yep,
there are definitely possibilities. So I don't hate the idea, which is the first time I think I've ever said it about this particular CEO. Man, I'm mad at CEOs today. You mentioned Zuckerberg fixing his image and spending all that money to look better, and he still looks like one of those smiley face sponges after you scrub a barbecue grill. But anyway, sorry that this makes me so mad. But yeah, I don't hate this. I don't hate them licensing out stuff. It's working for Disney. It will certainly work for what Warner Brothers has, and yeah, why the hell not?
Scrub Daddy. He really does look like a Scrub Daddy. Holy shit.
Scrub Daddy.
That's what oh my God. That's really good. The hair and everything.
Yeah, he's got it all.
Yeah, that's incredible. The only thing here is like, why weren't you doing this already? This is it just feels so obvious, and I guess that's just they inherited a way of doing things. I suppose that was we do own a lot of studios. It is better to just have them work on that internally because then we own the whole chain. But hey, licensing fees are a real thing, and the way Disney does do it now is they take on. Listen, I know how it works across the board, so I'm going to say this is the way Disney does it, and then I'll talk to John Drake or whatever. He'll be like, "You were wrong about that. Whatever. What does he know?" But the way Disney occasionally does it with some projects is they will make deals with studios, and those studios sometimes will give them upfront payment to license the IP or make a deal to pay on the back end. I really don't know how that works, but it is clear that the money is kind of going in Disney's direction. And then you're like, well, then Disney's got to fund the game, right? Well, not in all those cases. Like that Star Wars Eclipse game, Disney's not paying a lot of money for that, is my understanding. The Knights of the Old Republic remake, Disney's not paying a lot of money for that. So this is the kind of thing where I think Warner Brothers is looking over that and be like, okay, we have IP that is nearly as strong and could be easily as strong in video games as what Disney has. So maybe we should be setting things up in a pretty similar way. And I wouldn't be too surprised if that's kind of the way it goes down.
Don't hate it.
Don't you call me John Drake. All right, let's keep going here. Oh man, I'm excited about this one, and I don't mean to like dance on any graves, but I like a bad movie. I like bad games. I do. And some of my favorite times watching movies is when I watch bad movies, and we got a new one, everybody. And I just completely got rid of I slashed my hand down on the desk in excitement, and I hit my mouse, and it closed the window and went somewhere else. Let me see here. Let me see if I can get this back here.
Want me to read it? I can read it.
Yeah, you read it while I type it in here. All right, let's go.
Here we go. The Borderlands movie social reactions are out, and it's not looking good. This comes from Land Pitts at GameSpot. Excuse me. Fuck GameSpot.
You did it. Oh,
no.
You
might not be aware. I did it. You might not be aware, but Eli Roth directed a Borderlands movie based on the popular video game franchise, and it comes out this week. The official review embargo lives on August 8th, however. Social impressions were free to run wild, and they are not the best. The film doesn't adapt any specific Borderlands story, but takes place in the world of Pandora and within the lore of the land. A major recognizable element is Jack Black as Claptrap, the game's robotic guide, and your character's sidekick. The main observation seems to be the comparison between that and Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, which, of course, was a reinvention of the team from the comics. From at Shaq Excellence, Borderlands is easily one of the worst movies of the year. Fans will be pissed off with how much they get the characters wrong, especially Tina. Casual moviegoers will be unimpressed at how much it feels like a half-baked Guardians of the Galaxy ripoff. From SCon Movies, the social media embargo is now lifted, and I can say that hashtag Borderlands movie has an exceptional level of detail for those who have played the video games, but I don't know if that's enough to stop people from accusing it of being a GOTG ripoff. At Ed Gorteg? That's Ed Gorteg. Borderlands feels like what an out-of-touch executive thinks the cool kids find appealing. There is not a single earnest character moment here, just obnoxious quips that feel dated as soon as they leave the actors' mouths.
It's going to be painful.
It's not even so bad it's good, just a complete mess.
All pain.
S. Matthew AF. Oh, hey, I can tell you I've seen hashtag Borderlands movie now, and that it's really bad. I really wanted to like it, but an uninspired plot, plus several phoned-in performances, plus being stuck in a weird place where it looks both expensive and cheap at the same time, makes it a huge misfire. Not everything was bleak for the would-be tentpole end-of-summer feature. There were some actual positive impressions. Fans praised Jack Black and Cate Blanchett's performances, and fans of the franchise will love the Easter eggs, and that's all you're getting positive from me. Last year's trend of successful video game adaptations might hit a few road bumps with the Borderlands film, but we'll see soon enough. This movie stars Cate Blanchett, Kevin Hart, Jack Black, Eddie Ramirez, Ariana Greenblatt, Florian Montano, Gina Gershon, and Jamie Lee Curtis, and hits theaters on August 9th. That was nice. That felt nice.
Yeah, you did a great job. Well done, everybody.
That felt good.
Let's get some Jason chat for Jason Fanelli, everybody, please. Thank you for that. And boy, am I excited. The idea of something look both cheap and expensive at the same time, just like being able to look at a movie and be like, where did it go wrong? Like what happened here? I think it starts with, I think someone mentioned in one of these things, or someone mentioned online that this is Eli Roth and you don't give him an R rating. Like, what does he have to work with? Like, I don't think he's exactly a very talented director personally, but if you take away the R rating from Eli Roth, you kind of leave him nothing. That seemed like a bad place to start from. And then everything after that just feels generic and whatever.
Did you have faith in this movie to begin with?
No, not really. Nope. But
they started announcing the cast, I'm like, what are they going to play this game, or are they just going to? Did someone play the first one and just try to adapt like things that might have happened in this world into this movie? That doesn't make any sense to me. Jack Black as Captrap was the only thing that made sense. It was the only thing that ever made sense about all of it. And
Cate Blanchett in Borderlands doesn't make sense to you? What are you saying? You're crazy.
I'm saying she's better than Borderlands.
She's way better than Borderlands.
I like Borderlands a lot, but I do like Borderlands. But that's below her pay grade. She is no. She can do better than that. Jamie Lee Curtis. I love Jamie Lee Curtis. Chat Chuckle Nuggets. Don't yell at me. I love Jamie Lee Curtis. She is great. She's a cosplayer. She's into games. I love that. Maybe she's a beacon in this movie too. But it has nothing to do with the actors and the actresses. It has everything to do with I was not confident in their adaptation, and I was right. So will I see this eventually on a streaming service when I'm drinking some gin and, just sitting alone in my basement? Yeah, probably. I'll cringe and that'll be the end of it. I don't hate Hollywood actresses. No, stop that. Damn it.
I think I'm going out to the movie theater to see it this weekend.
What's wrong with you people?
Get his ass, chat. I think I'm going out to the theater this weekend to see it so we could talk about it next week. Like that's what has happened now. I mean, on Rotten Tomatoes earlier today, it did have a 0%. It has I think a 3%. Yes, it's a 3% now.
My God.
And I think that is from, that's one positive review out of 30. So there you go.
Randy Pitchford.
Yep.
Randy Pitchford.
And they're just like, and this is from Grace Randolph. Who's like, it's just weird to see Cate Blanchett in a movie like this. And I kind of like that. I think that's what they like about it. So, hey, all right. Everyone else is basically kind of repeating what you said in those earlier quotes, which is, it feels almost plagiaristic of Guardians of the Galaxy in some ways. So, oh boy.
Put that on the back of the box.
Yep. There it is. This movie is going to flop, right?
God, I hope so. But I think enough. And I'm not saying that because I want any movie to flop. I'm saying that because I want to keep the trend of quality video game movies happening. And this is clearly setting us back to, what the hell was his name? Uwe Boll days. But I think it depends on how fans of the game react. If you have people who are just will consume any Borderlands content that there is ever and give it the benefit of the doubt, if they come out, maybe it does well. I don't see that happening though. Maybe it has a good opening day and then it just kind of tanks. I don't even know if it's going to make budget. And I understand the budget was pretty high.
It seems like it has a high budget. I mean, you have Kevin Hart, right? Kevin Hart's in it, and then Kate Blanchett. You got to pay them a lot of money.
Dan Fiasco in the chat, $145 million budget, predicted 12 to 16 million gate. That's not good.
Woof. Okay.
Woof.
Actually, those are the kind of numbers that who made this movie? How much money is fucking Gearbox on the line for? I hope not much, because I don't want that studio to feel the repercussions of Randy Pitchford wanting to meet Kevin Hart, which is what I feel like this has all been about the entire time. He's like, I'm just really want to do some close-up magic to Kate Blanchett, and then I'm going to waste $150 million in the process. Here we are. And that's honestly, that $140 million for the budget, this I've seen a lot of commercials for this thing. It probably has a huge marketing budget as well.
Sure.
It seems like a big old
which is a shame
from Randy. Yes. Yeah. Hey, I wish I personally, I'm fine with it being a bad movie, because I probably wasn't going to love it no matter what, even if it was quote unquote good. But I want the people involved in making it to be proud of something and have something that they can be happy with. And that really stinks for them. So, yep.
That's fair. Yep.
All right, let's take a quick break. When we get back, plenty more headlines to get into, including the Switch is closing in on that PS2 sales number, at least in the United States, right after this.
Yummy like a gummy bear.
That's the wrong button. All right, here we go. Coming right back. All right, we're back into it. Yeah, another botchamania over here. Switch is very close to matching lifetime PS2 sales in the United States. This is from Eddie McHugh at GameSpot. The Nintendo Switch is getting closer to matching the PlayStation 2 for lifetime sales in the United States. Matt Piscatella of the research firm Circana reported that the Switch is only 1.1 million units behind PS2 for lifetime sales domestically. Globally, it's a bit of a different story. Nintendo recently reported that the Switch sales through June 30th stood at 143.42 million units. The PS2 is understood to be the best-selling home console of all time, with about 155 million units sold, although Sony has recently claimed it's 160 million. And that was Jim Ryan as he was leaving, maybe trying to fudge things a little bit. Nintendo is forecasting to sell 13.5 million Switch consoles during its current fiscal year that ends on March 31st, 2025, with 2.1 million sold already this fiscal year in the first quarter of its fiscal year. It's a bit behind pace to do that number, but either way, it's like, God, yeah, man, it's going to surpass the PS2 in the United States. Maybe not globally. We'll see. There is a chance it could still miss that. But that is such a different time and era and way in the way people were consuming games, where, you know, the PS2 lasted forever. Price cuts on hardware. Remember those? We used to get those. The PS2
I do.
got down to almost $99 at late in its life. And
I think it might have been after the PS3 came out.
Yeah. And it's so in the end, that was before mobile smartphones that people were using to play games, free games on instead. So they were like, well, I have a hunger to play games. This is cheap. I'll go get a PS2 and I'll get FIFA and things like that. And that was a lot of the PS2's later sales. And Switch is just not having that same thing. Instead, it's like, nope, this is the active console. It's still $300, $350 if you want the OLED. This is really impressive, all things considered, right?
I think it speaks to the way that they approach the software lineup this time around, and the fact that they're still putting out games in their marquee franchises this late. We're getting a brand new Zelda game this year. I tend to forget that.
Yeah, I forgot about it too.
The rest of the year, but there was a brand new Zelda game which did wonders for when the same thing for the 3DS in 2013.
Yeah. With
brand new ideas, you finally get to play as Zelda in a Zelda game. It should have been called The Legend of Link, but that's just me. But I think that strategy has paid off in the Switch being able to get these, because you get close to these records, because you figure there may be people who got the Switch early, played Breath of the Wild, whatever they wanted to play, and then maybe had to get rid of it for some reason, and then came back for Tears of the Kingdom, and now are coming back again for Echoes of Wisdom, because the Switch Lite is included in this, right? So they're not as expensive as getting the full TV experience. So if somebody just wants to pick up a Switch Lite to play the one game that they want and then flip it for something else, I know people that do that they just get the consoles for the game they want and they sell it all, or they trade it to itch that shall not be named or what have you. And that's just how they do it. But that's a sale every single time. That's a sale for Nintendo.
Yep.
I'm not surprised that the Switch is making it. It's almost like Nintendo coming back to claim its crown.
A little bit
from the NES, right? The NES was the one that was Super Nintendo, one of the two.
Super Nintendo ended up like edging out the Genesis after a couple of years. Yes.
Yeah. So and the Switch, it was a genius move. It was maybe one of the best rebounds if you look at the scope of video game hardware history, from the Wii U to the Switch. That's absurd.
Yep. It's
absurdly cool.
And, I always remind people of the caveats of Nintendo used to have two consoles, right? They had the home console and the handheld, and they had the Wii and the DS at the same time. And God, you combine those things, and it's like 250 million more than that, actually, something like that. But again, things are different. And also, those things did get price cuts, and they were cheaper, and they had to get aggressive in sales and stuff like that. And they just have not had to do that this generation. In fact, really, with the Switch OLED, it was a price increase. So...
and then with the Switch Lite, that was your decrease, right? Yep. It was just a different form factor. It was they were following that old model, just in a different way.
Yep, in a more creative way.
Yeah. And I think that so like there are people who may own the Switch regular for their TV and a Switch Lite for when they're on the go.
Oh, there's a huge portion of the audience that owns multiple Switches, without a doubt. Yeah. Like that is that's always been the case with Nintendo handhelds, and they just found a way to like make that make sense for the home console, and they did that without having to do the thing that they've done with the handhelds every generation since the Game Boy, with a mid-gen refresh, with a Game Boy Color, or the Game Boy Advance SP, the DS Lite, all these things, or the DSi, I should say, new 3DS. They always found ways to like keep those generations going and have a big upgrade that made people feel like, well, I already have it, but I am playing this thing all the time. I want to have the best version of it. Instead, they're like, oh, we might do the Switch Pro, and then they pulled the plug on that. And now they're doing the Switch 2 instead. And maybe that'll have some lineage in there. I think the Switch 2 will have like that. You'll be able to trace like when it was still the Switch Pro, but clearly it's going to be a new hardware generation.
Yep, for sure.
All right. And meanwhile, analyst claims that third-party devs are working on big launch titles for Nintendo Switch's successor. This is from My Nintendo News. Gaming and stock market analyst Paul Gale stated in a Twitter post recently that major third-party developers and studios are prepping big launch window titles for the Switch successor to make up for missing Nintendo Switch's legendary release back in 2017. Claiming that NS2, which is codename for Nintendo Switch 2, will have some early significant ports, parallel releases, and exclusives. I'll just read what Paul Gale wrote here. A few major third-party developers whom at E3 2017 weren't anticipating Nintendo Switch taking off the way it did and didn't have a AAA title at launch / the show itself are working on big launch window releases for the Nintendo's next system. NS2 will have some early significant ports, parallel releases, and exclusives. I am thrilled at the prospect of what's next. This feels like, that sounds about right to me at this point. And I think it answers some questions about like, why does it feel like some of these studios have been quiet or whatever? Or like, why does Jedi Survivor get ported down to the Xbox One and PS4? Well, I think we can expect a game like that to show up like from EA, a publisher that was absent not just at the launch of the Switch, but throughout most of its life. They had a few periods there where like, here's like 5 to 10 games. Here's Plants vs. Zombies, the shooter. We're going to port that to the Switch. I think they did that, but they missed out on a lot of the Switch wave, and now they're going to try to be there at launch. Do you think they can sort of rewrite history this generation by being there and ready to support this system?
Yes, and I think that the story that we just talked about previously, the fact that it's even challenging the PS2 lifetime sales, is a big reason for that.
Yep.
As Paul Gale said, E3 2017, we were still coming off of the Wii U debacle, and they were like, we're not sure about this. We don't have Wii U in our plans. That did not pan out. Obviously, they should have been on board when this thing started. They didn't have the foresight, and now they're playing catch up. One thing, though, with some of the games that are mentioned, there's another paragraph here that you mentioned that Gail pointed out that the last two consensus Game of the Years, Games of the Year, excuse me, Elden Ring and Baldur's Gate 3 are being considered for this, which is cool. Persona 3 Reload, Resident Evil 4 also named as well. But Switch 2 has an issue that Switch 1 did not have at launch, and that is portable PCs.
Mm-hmm.
These are a thing now. Now, granted, this only applies to the really entrenched gamer, not so much the family game. But I don't know if they're going to be able to... They're going to rope people like us in with first-party games.
Yes.
They might be able to rope in the casual gamers with, man, everyone talked about Baldur's Gate, but I'm not upgrading to a PC, and PC handhelds are too expensive. Ooh, I can do the Switch 2 now. That market is certainly there. But I don't know if it's as lucrative as this is making it sound. It's cool that they're going to be there, but I think it's has to be more focused on potentially new IP or sequels that come out day and date with the other consoles. And Nintendo has its own first party IP. Obviously, that's going to be a huge seller. So I'm curious how much that weighs into a developer's decision. Like, do we want to be on Switch 2 from the gate, or are we cool with giving it like 6 months and then just porting our PC port over, or giving it see what the track looks like? Will it be as successful? Will it be even more successful? Where does that fall? And then they can make that decision. So there could be caution, but I don't think it'll be as much caution as last time through 2017. And B, I don't know if the impact of the announcements of these games on a Nintendo console will be as heavy as it could have been because of things like portable PCs. If that makes sense.
It does. Yeah, absolutely. I think that we are going to see both things happen. We're going to see some games like launch at the same time as the Switch 2, and they will get a huge wave that they can ride. And some of those will be like indie games. I think there's a chance that like, oh, what if the reason Silk Song hasn't come out yet is because they want that to be a launch game for the Switch 2? Probably not. But if it was, it would be massive. It would do very, very well. Everyone who got a Switch 2 who has like any sort of tap into the indie game space would get that game. We saw that happen with like Golf Story in the early days of the Switch. Just massive successes for games like that. At the same time, like, there's a lot of assumptions that the Switch 2 will just be the Switch 1 again, but people do kind of tune out when they hear the same tune again. Like, and I think Nintendo will be able to figure it out. And clearly, when they have new Marios and new Zeldas, new Mario Karts, new Animal Crossings, people will get excited. But will they get 45 million copies for Animal Crossing excited again? That's an open question. I probably not. Like, if we just look at the history of the way, when you have one thing and then you put it like the way Nintendo's, like the Super Nintendo didn't do as well as the NES, the GameCube didn't do as well as the N64, kind of in that range. The 3DS didn't do as well as the DS. The follow-up never does as well. And I think a big part of that is like people are like, well, I had this experience. And yeah, sure, that's a new Animal Crossing. That's Mario Kart 10. And we've been waiting for that. Mario Kart feels like it'll do fine no matter what. But everyone's bought Mario Kart 8 Deluxe in the last 10 years. And I don't know if the excitement will necessarily be able to replicate itself 100% to a T. That said, Nintendo, I think, is aware of this. I think they they know better than anyone. They see the numbers better than anyone. I think they will be anticipating some strategies to overcome and like sort of sidle along this problem and get around it in some ways. So, we just got to see them like lay down exactly what the track's going to look like for the system and the games that they're putting out.
I think I agree with you on Animal Crossing's case, because Animal Crossing, I think, was a product of its release date, April 2020. Everybody needed something to do, and it blew up because of that. Right. Not to say that Animal Crossing's not popular, but I don't know that it'll be 45 million copies popular, whatever the future iteration is on the Switch 2. It'll be popular in this house, I'll tell you that for sure. But I can't tell you outside of the house, I don't know. I think Mario Kart, as you said, is just inevitable. Honestly, Mario games are inevitable. Zelda games are inevitable to sell well, and they're the people who've been playing them forever. I'm with you on the follow up not being as popular, but then again, this is the only Nintendo console now. Yep, it's the only one that there is.
Right, the one we didn't mention is like Pokemon, and people are just not going to be able to ignore Pokemon. That's not an option for a huge swath of multiple generations.
And that's true.
Now.
And the next Pokemon has the added pressure of making up for Scarlet and Violet's bullshit.
Right.
So,
we're starting to get the sense that maybe they want to make up for it, which was also an
Yeah.
open question. And it's like, well, if they want,
Yeah.
they want to like do right by that
ZA,
series.
that Legends ZA is still out there. Pokemon Worlds is next weekend. We'll probably get some more information on that. Who knows when that's coming? Could that be pushed to Switch launch title as well? Legends Arceus being as good as it was. Who knows? It's a very interesting question that we have been asking ourselves now for what, 2-3 years?
Yep.
What the hell's going on with the Switch successor? I feel like the light might be at the end of the tunnel. I just don't know how long the tunnel is.
Yeah, I
right?
mean, I can't remember exactly what he said or what the Nintendo said. Like, they're supposed to tell us about the next Switch this year still? Was it this calendar
year? At some point.
The fiscal year? Okay.
So by March 2025, we'll have some sort of information. And I also think, too, I think one of the most crucial things, if they haven't learned their lesson, I'll be very upset, is the name. It has to be a name that is discernible enough from
distinct.
The current one. It can't be Wii U again. Whether it's its own thing,
right,
or you put a spin on, like I've heard Super Nintendo Switch, I like that. Nintendo Switch Advance, I like that too. Maybe its own thing, like somebody mentioned the magnets that are in the patent, so it could be like Wave or something like that, Nintendo Wave, whatever it would be. It can't be Switch U. It cannot be Switch U. I see that, chat.
Right, and it's like even like Switch Advance feels like
too.
Like I think when like Game Boy Advance came out, it was so easy to understand. Like, well, that's new because look at these games. Yeah. Like these days, you don't have that advantage. Like even when they went from Wii to Wii U and it was SD to HD, even that jump kind of isn't enough to really illustrate the difference to a lay person for the most part. So, yeah, it's not like it once was. All right, let's hit these last handful of stories here. Quick, go play Call of Duty's WWE mode before it goes away. This is from Alyssa Mercante at Kotaku. I understand that this WWE mode is quite a bit of fun. People seem to enjoy it. I want to maybe find time to check it out, but if I don't have time today, I'm going to miss it, I guess. So, as with any Call of Duty game, my interest in Modern Warfare 3 waxes and wanes depending on what modes or gimmicks the FPS is offering at any given moment. Last summer, when Warzone added a mode themed around the Amazon Prime series The Boys, I jumped back in for a few weeks to roast some people with my laser eyes. Now, a new WWE game mode called Slam Deathmatch, along with several wrestling legends available as operators, has once again pulled me back into Modern Warfare 3 fray, or into the Modern Warfare 3 fray. Season 5 of Warzone and Modern Warfare 3 added new base weapons, a new battle pass that included WWE superstar Rhea Ripley, 2 other famous wrestler skins available to purchase, Cody Rhodes and Rey Mysterio, and a temporary new game mode called Slam Deathmatch running as a cross promo with WWE SummerSlam, which aired on August 3rd. It's the last bit and Rhea Ripley that got me to jump back into the shooter after months away. Yeah, of course. And boy, am I glad I did. Slam Deathmatch is absolutely bananas and a great way to get a feel for the current and ever-shifting Call of Duty gun meta. Slam Deathmatch is simple. It's a regular team deathmatch on smaller sized maps, but you down enemies like in Warzone rather than outright killing them, and your grenades are disabled. When you down a player, a WWE logo will appear over their heads, and you can run over and long press your right joystick to do a finishing move on them, while a WWE announcer shouts in disbelief, which sounds incredible, actually. Man, maybe I actually should definitely go play this. I like that live service games are able to do this sort of thing. But then I also hate that they do feel always sometimes time limited. Not always, but very frequently time limited, where it's like, if you don't get in there now, you're going to have that fear of missing out. And that's kind of frustrating as well. But this seems like the right way to be doing these kinds of promotional modes in something like Call of Duty, right?
I agree. I'm as much as I want to play this, the download size of Call of Duty at the moment has completely, I'd have to clear my whole damn hard drive. Also, as somebody pointed out in the chat, I don't know if you saw the Dominic Mysterio tweet about it. Somebody had posted a picture of them having just killed the Rey Mysterio skin, and he's laying and he's dead, and someone's like, oh no. So then Dominic took it and superimposed a picture of him from when he was a kid playing PSP. Like that's what he's looking at on his screen. It is phenomenal. But no, Dom, you crazy. I love that they do this limited time stuff. I just wish they would bring it back a little more often, right? Like,
Yep.
like the modes specifically, the skins. If they come back, they don't come back. Whatever. If I miss a skin, that's just money I didn't spend. But limited time modes in a free game like this, like if I just have a busy week or if I'm on vacation and I miss, you
Right.
know, if it's Tuesday to Thursday and I just don't happen to be there, screw me. F me, I guess. Or press F in chat. I guess it's Call of Duty, right? We're talking about.
Mhm.
But that sucks. Like Fortnite, perfect example. They have a timed event this Saturday, 2 p.m. Eastern. I have a charity event to go to. I won't be able to go. I won't be able to watch this. Now, am I boo-hooing the fact that I won't be able to do this Fortnite event? No, I'll probably watch it on YouTube. But just the fact that I couldn't, you know, like, and they sprung it on us, what, yesterday? That this is happening on Saturday? That's not enough. I would like a little more time as a busy family man and father and all this other stuff to be able to make some time and sit down and play some video games. But, you know, they're not doing it for me. They're doing it for the people who are, you know, on a Saturday afternoon, not doing anything.
And like I get like the appointment viewing sort of angle of all this
Sure.
of you know, yeah, it's sure, but the foremost the point is probably what they're thinking. Like, we do want you to feel a sense of urgency to come hop into this game so you don't miss out on something. And you know, we do live streaming. That's the same thing. Like, hey, you should come watch it live, be a part of when something crazy happens in Grubba when in Blight Club, that sort of thing. So I completely sympathize with that a way of doing things. And but I think I'm like realizing I won't get a chance to try something like this. And Sean's mentioned it's like it's fun for a little bit, but I'm like, I just want to experience it for a little bit. So that would be fine. I just kind of want to get a taste of it. So who knows? Sure. Maybe I will still find a way to download it and play it tonight. It's just, you know, it's a busy. Thursdays are always busy for me.
And also, one more quick thing. I have always found it very disturbing when they put real world people in Call of Duty.
Yeah, it's odd.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a little bit of like,
yeah, Cody Rhodes running around with a big gun is a weird look. Yeah, absolutely.
No, seeing Cody Rhodes dead on the ground after I shot him is very disappointing, very upsetting. I don't want to kill Rhea Ripley. I want to hang out with Rhea Ripley.
Yep. Arn Anderson, though, they should put him in the game. That makes sense.
Oh. Yeah, just his face on Cody's Glock.
Exactly, on a Glock, yeah. All right, let's see here. Console Wars, the card game, has been announced. This is from Jordan Midler at VGC. Console Wars, a new card game published by the gaming outlet Xbox Era, has been announced. In order to win the Console Wars, content is king, and intellectual property ownership of the best games is everything. Read the description for the game. In order to emerge victorious, players will need to battle for ownership of four full sets of IP across genres, from action-packed first-person shooters, iconic platformers, and deep, complex RPGs. There's a Kickstarter for this. They're almost are 100% backed. I think they're going for £20,000. At the time of this writing, it was 15,000. I think they're much closer now. It is a very fun idea, I think, of like turning this concept of list wars and people whining about games into a fun card game instead. Because also it's like, it makes some sense. I like this idea of like, oh yeah, you got to like battle each other to get the IP and become an acquisition lord or something like that. I don't know. This sounds pretty cool. I'll bring up a video of it, but I don't know. Any interest in this from you, Jason Fanelli?
I'm always interested to sit down and play a new tabletop card game, board game. I'll give everything a shot once. There is a little bit of me that's like, oh, we're just fighting for IPs and you know, highest bidder, and it seems a little too close to home, right? Especially
right, exactly. Maybe a bit too soon still, yeah.
A bit all the tumult in the gaming industry at the moment, to use a big word. But yeah, good for them. I hope it is great, and I hope one time I get a chance to play it. Maybe if they're at PAX Unplugged here in Philly, I'll see it there and get to check it out. And yeah, I would love. I mean, like I said, I'm always willing to try new games. This one has a nice little bent to it. If it's a humorous sort of like off kilter, offbeat sort of take on the idea, then yeah, sure, I don't mind that putting a smile on my face. But if it gets really like grubby and grindy and a little too close to not sorry, I did say grubby, didn't I? Sorry. You realize I say grubby.
There is a little bit of that fun whimsical here we're seeing in the video, like the way that they're getting around not having, you know, the actual IP. There's God of Gore, Ola instead of Halo, so it's HOLA. That's good. There's Mood instead of Doom. Barrio Brothers, Resident Devil.
Did I see that?
Yeah, Resident Devil. Yeah, that's pretty good. The Legend of Esmeralda. Yeah, so that's like, you know, just kind of the play on that, where everyone knows what they're going for, but like, let's see how they're going to pull off this next pun. there's some fun there too. And I like the art on these things too. So yeah, this is impressive. There's a Kickstarter for it. You can find it. I'm sure you can go to Xbox Era's Twitter or something like that. They'll have all the details there. But it's called Console Wars, the card game. Shout out to those guys. Full disclosure, I'm friendly with them. Those are nice people. So, but I did see this story. I'm like, oh yeah, I thought I saw them talking about that. I'll throw that in here. All right, let's see here. I think last story. Yes, PlayStation VR PC or VR2 PC adapter is available now, but it is selling out fast. This is from John Bittner at GameSpot. The PlayStation VR2 hasn't exactly been a huge hit among PS5 owners, with Sony reportedly pausing production earlier this year until current stock is depleted. The recent $200 discount during PlayStation's back-to-school sale certainly helped with that, but it might be the PSVR2 PC adapter that moves the needle even more. Released this week for $60, the PSVR2 PC adapter adds support for gaming PCs and thousands of Steam VR games without needing a PS5 console. You will need the $60 adapter, though. You will also need a pretty decent PC, like Core i5 7600, a GTX 1650 or better, things like that. People do talk about this thing, Jason, in a way they're like, yeah, this could be the thing that really helps push PSVR 2. And I'm just like, no, this is not that. Introducing complexity. Introducing an expensive dongle, really $60 is pretty expensive. That is going to be for a fraction of a fraction of a fraction now, right? You have the fraction of people who wanted a PSVR 2 maybe in the first place, and then the fraction that actually made that purchase, and then the fraction that wants to play it on PC, and then that fraction that actually went out and bought this thing. It's not going to move the needle, really. That said, I'm glad they're doing it. And I think it'll probably sell a few extra PSVR 2s here and there, but it's pretty limited. A lot of the features of the PSVR 2 that make that thing special don't work on the PC, even with all these, even if you do have all the specs and the dongle. So at a certain point, it's like, well, if you're going to be playing VR games on PC, why wouldn't you just get the Valve Index? Why wouldn't you just get an Oculus Rift 3 and use the wireless Steam VR stuff instead, which is what I do a lot of times, and that works great. So yeah, and that all said, I'm like, maybe I should get a PSVR 2. So I'm right back at the beginning there, kind of talking myself into it. How about you? What do you think about this?
No, and conversely, if you want to play VR using a PlayStation VR 2 and you have a PS5, why do you need the dongle? Let's use the PS5. It definitely seems like a no stone unturned sort of scenario where they're just trying to do as much as they can to get PSVR 2 as in as many homes as possible. I am with you that I don't really see the market for this. A fraction of a fraction of a fraction is the perfect way to describe it. I mean, I can't really describe it any better than that. I feel like they should be. It's cool, and as you said, it is cool to have this new option for PC players to do VR on their PCs. And me looking at these specs right now, I am realizing I could run this. I could do that.
Yep.
And that's the minimum specs. So who knows what it'll look like. It would even be worth it if I were to invest in PSVR 2 to get this dongle when it's probably going to look better on my PS5 anyway.
Mm-hmm.
If these are the minimum specs, right? Again, maybe this is just me being out of VR, like being a late comer into VR, as I mentioned earlier when we were talking about Ready at Dawn. But I don't see the appeal of making the PSVR 2 compatible with PC, especially for those who already own a PS5. It just seems like extra work.
Yep.
Is it just play the games on PC that aren't on PS5? Is that it?
Yeah.
And how many of those are there? Are there many?
Like, there's quite a few, but it's not. I mean, there's Half-Life Alyx, right? There's that.
That's the one.
Yeah.
That's the one. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a handful of others for sure that are like big names, but then there's tons of others that, of course, never came to PS5 that small studios upload to Steam for a couple bucks, things like that. Yeah, there are some
suggestions in the chat too, and Siegfried needs to go to church.
Pornography, yes, that is definitely. That stuff probably mostly works on PS5. Oh, that doesn't have a browser actually, so maybe it doesn't. Who knows? I have no idea. That's weird. I bet someone has figured it out over there on the PS5. Because where there's a will, there's a way. Yeah, they got the dongle. So where there's a dongle, there's definitely a way.
Expensive dongle.
Expensive dongles and pornography, everybody. That's what we do over here on Game Mess Mornings. And that is going to do it for the headlines on this on today's episode. Instead, let's get over to the poll, which I had right here. Let me refresh. I got to vote in this thing. Let's see
Let's
here.
get over to the poll.
Let's get over to the poll. Indeed, everybody. Who needs church when you have the poll on Game Mess Mornings? Do you feel like the PS4, Xbox One support is still holding back new gen releases? I'm going to say I never felt that way. 20% say they never felt that way as well. 23% said no, and 57% said yes. So the kind of people that tune into this show, kind of people on the Giant Bomb YouTube channel, still feeling a little kind of frustrated by this. I don't know if that's going away now.
Yeah.
I mean,
not until they both say that they're discontinuing those consoles.
Yeah, I mean, like GTA 6 will clearly be next gen, new gen only. Excuse me. But like Call of Duty, right? Call of Duty is one that they've said, hey, we want that running on the Switch or Nintendo stuff going forward. So if you get that thing going on the Switch too, you're basically doing a lot of work to make it pretty close to being able to run on Xbox One and PS4. And why wouldn't you just keep releasing it on those systems? So I think we're going to have that sort of thing for quite some time, and having them do all the work to port Jedi Survivor to PS4 and Xbox One in 2024 says to me that we're still kind of quite a ways off from really leaving those things behind. And in the meantime,
sure.
I don't feel like gaming's being held back. Not really. It's time and money. Time and money is what actually holds these games back, not hardware anymore. So, yep.
That's fair. Do they have separate studios working on these ports or separate teams? Because if it's the same resources, that I could see the argument there. But
totally. That sort of thing. Yes. Right. There is a zero sum at some point. I don't know. I think Respawn probably did do some of the work to port Jedi Survivor, but they needed to get that game running better anyhow, so they probably did need to do that work. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of times they will bring in external studios, though. All right. I have a new poll question that we'll get to in a second. Before we do that, Jason, why don't you tell people where they can find you on the internet, what you have going on, all of that good stuff.
Yes. So at Big Man Fanelli, that's Fanelli on basically every social media that there is. If you're looking for me, that's where you'll find me. You may have seen me lamenting last Friday, along with the loss of Game Informer, the loss of a feature that I was doing for them regarding fighting games and Evo. That has found a new home. So that will be going out. I don't know when. I have some interviews to finish and I got to get together, but it will be going out. And I will certainly blast that once it happens. But otherwise, still writing news for GameSpot, still writing the occasional thing for MMORPG.com. Go support them. Joe's a great dude. He's and yeah, still doing the collectible card thing. It's normal times, Jeff. We're in the end of the summer, going into the holiday review season. I imagine there will be a lot of games to review between now and then, so I'm sure you'll see me elsewhere. I'm doing some more for VGC lately too. Andy Robinson over there is a good fella.
Yep, good guys.
In fact, answer my DM, Andy. I have a.
He's flaky. You can't trust that guy.
I have a review pitch, Andy. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. So also too, just want to shout out. I mentioned I was going to a charity event on Saturday. My grandmother down in North Wildwood, New Jersey, or at Cape May Courthouse, New Jersey, is part of a group called the Survivors of Cancer. They raise money and give it to survivors of cancer or people going through cancer treatment in the Cape May County, New Jersey area. Every year they have a big fundraiser. That happens to be this Saturday. Couldn't go last year because I was in Japan, but going this year to hang out, support my grandmother, and sing the national anthem. So you might see that video show up on Twitter on Saturday.
Fantastic.
But yeah, love the event. We have a good time. And if you're in Cape May County, New Jersey, you're in South Jersey, go to the Bolero, buy yourself a ticket, have some drinks, and have some fun.
That sounds like a good time. Everyone show up. Come on. Yeah, let's see here. Let's do this poll question real quick. Are you going to see the Borderlands movie this weekend? Yes or no? I can't wait to see the results of this on. Oh yeah, look at this tomorrow, Friday. Tomorrow's episode of Game Mess Mornings here on Giant Bomb. Speaking of Giant Bomb, plenty's still happening. We will be doing Power Bombcast today. Then Voicemail Dump Truck. We're gonna wrap up our thoughts on SummerSlam and talk about kind of what we did at the show. And we went to see Sami Zayn's comedy thing. We'll talk about all that. So tune in if you're curious about our thoughts about going to Cleveland Browns Stadium and seeing all that stuff in person. And then, yeah, lots still happening on Giant Bomb across the board for the next few weeks. The traveling has started up. So, yeah, games are coming out, but also there was that little beat there where things slowed down like in the heart of summer, and now it's picking back up again. Some traveling, a lot of the crew heading out to Germany for Gamescom. I'm not going, Backlar's not going. We're going to hold down the fort here. But essentially, and content, exactly how it'll work out, always going to be a little in flux, but the idea is let's take the shows on the road. So expect maybe like a bombcast from the road and things like that. Maybe a voicemail dump truck even from the road. So they're going to go to Germany, have a good time, come back with a lot of fun stuff. And we'll talk over opening night live and stuff like that from home and things like that. But yeah, lots of traveling happening. So going to be busy here. Going to try to make the most of it. Blight Club did just end its run. Daika Grubba is done. Yes, very happy.
I did it.
We did get the numbers. We did get the numbers, and 24 hours to get through Daikatana.
Oh.
Well, now that's way longer than how long to beat, but that is because no one plays the way I did. They always use the fan patch, and they turn down the difficulty, and they have unlimited saves, which would make a huge difference. And then also, like, when people are like, well, if you play through vanilla the first time, it could take 30 to 35 hours. So I think we did a little bit better than the worst case scenario. Now, that means that if you add up all the times I played games, I played 60 hours on Blight Club, where Mike has played 30, and now he's behind in the rotation, so he's got one more game coming. But Dan's only played 37 hours, and just there's going to be payback. There must be justice in this world. I must get my revenge.
During the pre-show scout cam, I don't know if you saw what they were doing when they were waiting for us to come on. It was just it was all scout all the time. Chat was going off about speculation as to what the next game is. You don't have to tell me what it is now, because I assume you're not going to do that. But when?
Tell you as soon as we're off.
Will we find out?
Yeah. Everyone will find out when Mike finds out on the next episode of Blight Club live, when he unwraps the game and sees his costume and stuff like that. So we'll all find out together. That's the way this goes down. And he's got it. It's in his house. It's wrapped. It's in the package still. So he's going to have to deal with that here pretty soon.
I don't know what I'm more excited for, this or the cake that will come of it.
Yep.
I don't even know.
It is a Wii game. We have said that. It's a Wii game.
Okay.
He's not a fan of Waggle. So, and we were sure to pick one that has lots of good Waggle in there. So I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Excellent.
All right. Let me see. Anything else I wanted to mention? No, I don't think so. Jason Fanelli, thank you so much for hanging out with me today and talking about video games, man. I really appreciate it.
Heck yeah, man. Love doing it. Anytime you need me, I'm here.
Absolutely. And thank you all for listening. You're the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.
I would tip my hat to you, but my headphones start keeping it stuck to my head.